Welcome to Inside Startup Investing, the only podcast where you can invest in every guest. On this episode, I will be speaking with the founder and CEO of Doroni Aerospace, Doron Merdinger. As a reminder, if you like what you hear on today's episode, you can invest in Doroni Aerospace on Dealmaker, regardless of whether or not you are accredited, with a minimum investment of $998. There is currently no end date disclosed. Doroni Aerospace is bringing my Back to the Future dreams a reality with actual flying cars. Doron and his team have developed an electrical vertical takeoff and landing aircraft that is designed to be accessible and user-friendly to a broad audience of potential users, with the idea of truly making flying cars something that in the long term is built for the masses. This team has spent years and tens of millions of dollars to achieve FAA airworthiness with its prototypes. Doroni Aerospace is unique in how it is developing its stationary ducted fans technology, its parachute system for emergencies, and its AI-powered operating system to make flying their vehicles look and feel more like driving a car. And with its purposeful design, these vehicles will be classified under the new sport aircraft category, which essentially enables not just real pilots to fly these, but more folks with some levels of flying experience. Everything this team is doing is built with the long-term vision in mind of making transportation far more efficient for as many people as possible. Just like building a real car company, getting these flying car companies off the ground will involve years of regulatory and manufacturing scale challenges, and yes, capital challenges too. There's still significant risks in projects of this magnitude, but it's hard to argue with the bold vision and passion of Doron and his team to reinvent personal mobility as we know it. I'm impressed by the real technical innovation and progress they have made, and while I think they will face funding challenges, technical challenges, and longer timelines to broader use adoption, I have tremendous respect for what this team is building. And not to be punny, but this is the type of company that has the opportunity to be a high flyer if it can clear the hurdles ahead of it. If you love futurism, this is the episode and potential investment for you. So let's welcome Doron to the show. For those who don't know you, Doron, give us a little bit of your background and how you came to found this organization.
Basically, I started Doroni Aerospace about 9 years ago. I always was a geek, studying microelectronics and computers. I was in the Air Force. I did multiple things, worked with drones a little bit. Creating all my life. I mean, that's basically the nature of me. As a kid, I was always enthusiastic about flying cars. I knew they were coming. I was a believer from day one. Saw them in sci-fi movies, and I think that I had a eureka moment when the first kid, the kid that I saw the first time playing with a drone. I said, "Oh, now we do have how the propulsion system, how a flying car will work." So that's really in a nutshell.
So you thought flying cars could work. That's great. But there's a big leap to go from, I think this will work, what a cool idea, to, I think I'll spend the rest of my career building a flying car. So what got you to say, all right, I'm going to take the leap? And did you have something in mind already, a technical capability or something? Or was it really just a leap of faith? Hey, I'll raise the money and find the right people.
No, I worked with drones before. I studied, as I said, electronics, microelectronics, computers. I did manage big companies, about 200 people. I did a lot of development, CAD/CAM systems, really the early stage. I worked with 3D printers over 20 years, where I probably had the first one that was there, was developed, I believe, for NASA or by NASA. So for me, the idea was, okay, we have a flying car. It's not going to replace the regular, automotive industry, but it will work. It will coincide with this, with how we commute from place to place. Because every form of transportation really started as niche players. Aviation started, I think, like more for the airmail in cars for the military, and so eventually they became our main form of transportation. And I believe that what we do as well will take its place among the biggest, automotive and commuting. So this is it's really it's already here in a way, because of the regulation that's coming here and the technology that's here. I can give you a little bit of a brief. So we are really at a very interesting time where technology, because of EV, electric vehicle, the batteries is coming to place here for this kind of power requirements, regulations. The FAA basically announced the rules for this type of vehicle aircraft last year. It should go into effect this year. It's called Mosaic rules. We're really at a point of time where competing with China. China already have air taxis. We see big air taxis here in the US already traded in $10-15 billion market cap, companies like Joby Archer. And this is for air taxi, the service. By the way, the flying car, the name changed from flying car to eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing. And we are targeting the private sector, which we believe is big, is huge, maybe even the biggest, because ultimately we see this technology for daily life. That's how we see it.
So you're 9 years in. How far are you from being able to have these in commercial practice?
Yeah, we believe we're close. We are about 2 years away, about a year and a half to 2 years away. That's where we see it. We already flew full-scale prototype that got certified by the FAA's special airworthiness. I was the test pilot, the stunt pilot at that point, because it was kind of dangerous. And we improved the aerodynamics. We're working on improved aerodynamics before we bring the go-to-market product. But technology is here. Certification is here. We are in Florida, which is probably the biggest aviation hub in the world. Florida is maybe the biggest also adopter, flying cars, the eVTOLs.
Now to 2 years out when you can commercialize, what needs to happen? Are there more tests that have to be done? Do you just have to create the production version and get the manufacturing up and running? What all does that look like?
So the way you build an aircraft, you also certify it on the way. So it's tandem. So you certify it. So you build it, certify, build it, certify. That's what we're doing basically. So we're building to that level. What we're building is a vehicle that can be mass produced. So it's not just it's already built in the design for mass production. So this is taking into consideration as well. Obviously, choosing the right components, the right partners. This is part of the roadmap that we're doing, and we're making good progress. There's a lot of tailwind here. Again, the technology is really getting there because of a lot of things that are happening, eVTOLs, electric vehicles, the whole market awareness of how batteries can make our lives cleaner, nicer, safer in a way. We also believe that this vehicle will set a new standard in safety level because of multiple redundancies that are built inside, multiple propellers, motors.
So help me understand. You say the FAA created rules around the space, and it looks like you've done a test run with them. What is in those FAA rules? Is this quite literally something that, if I had enough money, I could go and buy one of these and fly it around anywhere? How does that work?
Yeah, so until now, there's a certification both for the pilot, it's called sports pilot license, or for their aircraft, which is a sports pilot aircraft. You would buy one today, you spend $400, $500. This is $1,000. This is a regular two-seater aircraft that will take off on a runway and will land on the runway, a combustion engine one. What we have is basically an eVTOL, so it's all electric and it takes off without a runway. These new category, it's called power lifters, are now considered to be part of the eVTOL, of the sports pilot. And so they'll be certified to that level. So we taken, under assumption that if a regular two-seater combustion engine in sports pilot takeoff and runway requires about 20-25 hours. We shouldn't require more in terms of certifying the pilot because it's fly by wire, very easy to control.
Understood. So if that's the case, when we think about applicable market, one, what is the price point of something like this? And how do you think about, what adoption could look like in those first years once you commercialize?
We now have, I think, over 600 pre-order requests. People are basically putting deposits there. At the beginning, we collected 10,000 and then 1,000. There's a lot of hype, and we are not even advertising it. I mean, we're not doing too much about it because we see the biggest challenge for us is how fast we can scale up production to meet this demand that we are now. So it's about $400,000. It's a high-end sports car, obviously. Unfortunately, not everybody can own at the beginning. I wish it could. This is new nascent technology. So with time, we believe, we will introduce a cheaper version in a way. But because this is a new technology, and obviously it's an aircraft, it's not, a regular car. So every time you certify something, it's more costly.
In terms of infrastructure, what needs to be put in place to have these be readily adopted? And from that perspective, what is a typical use case? Is this trying to go from the suburbs into a city type of thing? How do you think about use cases?
Yeah, so eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing, are basically two main markets. One is the air taxi, which we talked about, Joby and Archer. That needs infrastructure, vertiport, helipads, airports, that can take these big, massive, expensive machines. You take a car, you drive to that shuttle in a way, and you take that service. In our case, we can use that as well, but it's also, we don't dependent on that because from what we know, you can take off from your own property. If, the landowner will give you permission to take off or land, you can do that. We design it in a way so you can charge it like a fast charger, like a Tesla charger. We are targeting at one point also to have contracts with charging stations so we can land. We can take 2 spaces there. Again, no need for runway. You take off vertical. And then you can use it for multiple of services. Go shopping, go play golf, go for a weekend trip. And also emergency services are big. We didn't even touch that yet. First responders, I think you can send a swarm of aircraft. 40 of them will cost you to rescue somebody before or after a hurricane. And it will cost, the same price of one big helicopter, let's say Airbus one. We have farmers who basically wants to check their crop in California. We have a doctor that lives in an airport community. He wants to fly to work, to the hospital. He has to cross I believe it's the 95. He also invested and also pre-ordered. I mean, endless use cases. I mean, we're getting ideas and suggestions. I mean, because we are basically a crowdfunding company, we basically were bombarded with any question or any idea you can think of. From a regular, mom and pop or to an aerospace engineer to a VC, whatever you can think of, we've been bombarded with thousands of questions, and this basically made us better, made the product better, because you have to scale down. Because in aerospace, when you build an aircraft, just if you want to have a range, you create a huge wingspan, a small body. But we have to do multiple of things. It had to fit in the garage for personal use, easy to use, safe. So it's like creating the perfect Swiss Army knife.
As you start your go-to-market, is it really just a direct-to-consumer product, and then see how that goes, and then consider other commercial relationships?
Exactly, yes. So far we don't have enough even space for production for other uses. Obviously, if we're approached by a big, government agency, yes. But at this point, we are, overwhelmed with orders from Perth private.
When you think about production, are you investing in a production facility right now? Are you contract manufacturing this? How does that work?
No, we're not at that stage yet, but the goal for us is because we won a competition with Space Florida back in 2021. If Florida wants to keep us here, the goal is to probably have a production assembly facility here in North Florida, in the north part of Florida, which we assembled. The goal is about 3,000 units a year.
Hmm.
And so assembly is more putting it together.
2 years from now, you start to commercialize. When you get into that first year, what does success look like for you? Is it selling 10 or 20, or is it selling hundreds?
No, we're already selling, I mean, delivering. So we are probably to deliver probably somewhere like 10 to 12 units for the first year. But is really the target, and then scale up to 100 and, a couple of hundreds there, and then to 3,000 in one facility. Basically meet the deliveries or the pre-orders that we made.
And when we think about unit economics, what are the margins on each one? If you sell it for 400,000, do you net 100,000, 200,000?
Yep. So that's how we see it, about 25%.
About 25%, 100,000.
Yeah.
So getting to profitability once you start to commercialize, is that within reach, or is this something that you're going to be investing fairly heavily in R&D and manufacturing for many years to come?
Well, the first units probably we're not going to make money on. It's understandable. It's probably when we scale to a few hundreds, then we break even at that point, and we cross it. But start delivering the first units. It's a huge milestone, and I believe from what we see, it will basically increase the valuation of the company by a huge sizable amount to a couple of billions because of that ability to do that. Because today we have Joby Archer, basically our test flight. They have prototypes not certified yet, and the valuation is in the multi-billion market. And again, we believe that we should be there at that level at least.
What are the risks that you can't begin to deliver in about 2 years?
Well, there is always a risk, always, if we're not, bringing more funds that we need to. Although we're currently running a rig A and we're doing good, thank God, everything is doing well. And we've been raising pretty good for the last 4 years, 4.5 years, I think somewhere like over 15 million at this point, and now we're ramping up. So, funding is an issue. That's always a challenge. And in terms of certification, I think we're there. There's a roadmap. We have a good team, scaling up a good team. Technology is there. We don't need to put scientists in a lab for a few years just to get the right technology, because it's already here. Technology is definitely the AI progress that is being done today is helping us as well.
Tell me about your experience being the test pilot. What was that like? And what did you learn in that process?
Yeah. So I saw other eVTOLs that the beginning flipped over. And it's dangerous because the battery is always, a big thing. Battery catch fire. It's harder to throw water or anything else to take that fire out. So luckily we didn't have those issues. We had good, battery engineers. So I went inside and lifted off. It was controlled, and I felt like I'm really sitting like in a cushion of an air. It's like a flying car. It's like a flying carpet, and like on a cloud. I flew helicopters before, so unlike helicopters where there's a lot of vibration because of the rear rotor and the main rotor and the combustion engine, here it's all electric, right? So it's fans throwing air to the ground, and I was floating.
Do you have any concerns around, once these flying taxis kind of get going? And I know I've seen recently on the news actually that, there's some tests going on. So it's becoming more real. When that first negative incident happens, right? No, even all those small private planes out there, things happen. There are crashes. Any concerns around FAA changing their mind or just public perception issues? How do you consider that in the risk equation?
So we are taking that pretty seriously because again, we are a new kid on the block here. Aircraft crashing. If it's a regular two-seater engine or a big aircraft like Boeing, they would crash, right? So you cannot prevent 100%. Because we're a new technology, what we do is we over-engineer in many ways in order to have a higher safety level. Um, we are introducing multiple of things inside the system, including inside camera, much like a Tesla. And we will start working with buyers, select them closely to make sure that they can work with us and they will not do foolish things here. But this, until we really work with it for a few years. But yeah, but we are following very rigorous test flights, and the FAA is interested because again, China is more advanced. Europe is also bringing it through YASA, their FAA. So it's here to stay. It's not like will it happen? It's really when it happens. So that's a big question because this, and you can see today the drone technology appear to be pretty important. Unfortunate for the wars that are happening around the world. It becomes more sustainable. It's less expensive to operate. And even the U.S. government and the armed forces recognize this technology here to stay, basically. It's another niche. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that because, if you're a Back to the Future fan, and I know I am in Back to the Future too, right? They're flying on kind of the flying highway. And we haven't gotten there yet. When you think 5-10 years out, like when does, flying taxis, flying cars, when does that become the mainstream, or is it always going to be more of a niche?
An air taxi is an air taxi, so it really depends on the amount of infrastructure you hand around it. If you have enough vertiport helipads, again, this is not where we are. First, to make me more relaxed here, it will take time, if at all, if our skies will be crowded. So I don't see the thing happening. Unfortunately, I do see here in Miami, they're building road on top of other roads, on top of other roads, where the roads are basically in the sky. You don't need so many roads to destroy the habitat that we have here. And some cities, you cannot even add more roads. Unfortunately, I mean, the approach is pretty is unattainable here. So this is it. In terms of what we do, we fly about 500 to 1,500 feet. So it's above a drone, but below regular aviation. We believe that what we're doing, and that's what we know so far, it's going to be quieter and definitely safer. So it has less impact on the environment around us. Again, it will take to scale up a lot of time until you'd see many of them. And there's also highway in the sky. If you want to travel, it's not like you'll be able to fly, okay, above this house, that house. You take off from your home or from any office, whatever. And basically, you go to a set destination, state highway, if you want to fly between cities or on important areas. It's easier also to control these technologies. It's important to note there's something called geofencing, if you may heard of it. So it's kind of an invisible barrier. Again, these vehicles, like a drone, are easier to control in that type of technology, which is harder to be implemented in the regular two-seater combustion engine or in a helicopter too.
How far can these Doroni vehicles fly, on one EV charge? And then an add up to that is in terms of the battery, I imagine it's even more powerful than a car, would just be my initial inkling. And what does that mean in terms of charging it at home?
Yeah. So at this point, what we are estimating is around 100 miles of direct route, crow flies. So it's equivalent to about 160 a mile using a regular car, because if you take into consideration the U-turn, the stop, the lights, if you want to get to a place, because here you take off and you fly directly to your destination. In terms of batteries, we also develop it in a way because we know the battery technology or the cell technologies keep improving. So we develop it in a way that you'll be able to replace that with the new technologies coming in. We estimate less than half an hour to 80 or 90% of charge on a fast charger. Yes, it's powerful, but it's a different composition than a regular car.
And in terms of miles that it could go on one charge currently, what does that look like? Do you know?
Yeah, around 100 miles.
When you think about an exit for a business like this, is this the type of thing that you see IPOing, being acquired by one of the other large taxi providers? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so all these options are on the table, but from the direction that we are basically looking forward, we believe, I personally believe that this company should be publicly traded, much like the bigger ones. I'm targeting, hoping that it's achievable in the next, in up to 2 years from now. This is really where I'm personally targeting. Now, do I promise it? I can't as a CEO, but this is my aspiration to do. Definitely, I think this is really the natural place it should be.
I want to give you the last word here. For those investors who are on the line or thinking about investing, they're not there yet. What do you want them to know?
Yeah, so what's beautiful about crowdfunding, and you know better than me probably, it's you can be a partner, a part of it for even $1,000. Obviously, we have investors who invested a couple of hundred of thousands. I think you can comfortably invest if you want to be part of this future, you believe in this future. And also, take that chance that you're investing maybe in potential one of the future Tesla or SpaceX. I'm doing it for 9 years, and I believe that was where we're going. So, I'll be happy to have everybody joining that to become part of Doroni. We already have over close to 6,000 investors, I think, by now, and was it 10,000 followers over potential investors.
If you like what you heard on the show today, you can invest $998 or more in Doroni Aerospace on Dealmaker as of June 2026. And of course, if you want to learn more about why this company scored a 3.0 out of 5 on the Kingscrowd proprietary rating scale, you can go to kingscrowd.com and search Doroni Aerospace. And as always, if you like what you heard on the show today, please like, subscribe, and share our podcast. It truly does make a difference wherever you listen. Thanks for tuning in, and happy investing.